And we're live. Welcome back to the FullBack Dive podcast. It's been a minute. I have been busy with finals, a trip, all that good stuff. But I'm finally back. And so let's just talk about, some stuff and just kind of jump into it. I know, last time I made a video was the live stream for rounds 2 and 3 in the draft. That was a few weeks ago. But you know what? I'm feeling good. I think got through my finals all good and had a good trip. So I'm ready to come back and just talk. So I haven't really made a video compiling my thoughts on the whole draft. And I think I'll use this video as the first one. And I think I'll make probably one more. I'm thinking of making kind of a draft grades. I don't take draft grades too seriously anymore. I think they're kind of stupid because draft grades are just pretty much based on, our opinions and not, pretty much have no relevance. But I may do it, just kind of a thing to say I've done it. But other than that, let's just jump into it. So obviously the Patriots, people have been kind of trashing on it, and I kind of had a little weird reaction to it. But I've had some time to think about the draft, and I've had some times to look back at what we did good, what we did bad. And honestly, I think part of it, let me just make sure the audio is good real quick. Audio is good. Okay. Sorry about that. I don't be on my phone anymore. I think at the end of the day, I'm happy with it. I think it was better than initially expected and received. People expected us to go defense round 1, and I kind of thought it would be DB. But with the depth that was at defensive back, especially how it played out, the board, I'm glad we didn't. I think we got an interesting first-round pick. It's definitely the one that's going to have the most question marks. But if he plays well, it doesn't matter. I think I've watched a good amount of him since he was drafted the last couple weeks, and I've been impressed. He's athletic, and I think he's going to be an instant left guard starter. I'm happy with that. I don't mind. What else there with New England? I liked our second-round pick, Tyquan Thornton. People hated it because he thought it was a reach, but he was probably going to go to the Colts at like 50. I don't know, 52. That's fine. It was a little bit of a reach, but we need a field stretcher, and I doubt Aguilar is going to be here beyond this season, which sucks because our efficiency with him on the field is very high. So it's going to suck when we do let go of Aguilar. It might be this season, but I have a feeling they're going to want to ease in Thornton unless he just has like a monster camp. But I don't see that happening. I think he's going to be a slower first year for Thornton. But if he can make a splash in camp and show that he can be a dynamic playmaker day one, I'm excited. Because he has all the tools physically to be a top 15, 20 receiver in the NFL. Let's go further down. I'm just going off memory. I think I've gotten everyone's right. Marcus Jones was the next pick. I love the Marcus Jones pick. That might be our best pick overall. 5'8" corner, so immediately people are saying, well, look how that worked with Miles Bryant. But the difference is Miles Bryant doesn't have the physical skills that Marcus Jones possesses, and he's also very, very dynamic. He can play offense. He's played some offense in his career at college at Houston. And he can also play special teams very well, kick and punt return. He had, I think, 9 total touchdowns, something like that. A lot of special teams touchdowns. He can play everywhere. He's going to be dynamic. He's going to play probably more than most people will expect. Whether that's on defense or offense, who knows? Or special teams. It could be all three. He's going to be available. Jack Jones was kind of the wild card. I had heard his name, obviously, because of the off-field stuff that had happened, but I hadn't really heard his name since he had transferred to Arizona State. It was just kind of something that just kind of left my mind. But the man can cover. It's just, can he get his head right, keep his head right, and can he gain weight? He's only 174 pounds, 173 pounds. That's a concern. But if he can get some weight in him, get to like 185, 190, probably not going to happen over 1 year. It's probably going to be a multiple-year process of gaining all that muscle, good muscle. But if he does it, I'm really happy with that. I think we got 2 good corners to play behind Malcolm Butler, Terrence Mitchell. I don't think Terrence Mitchell is going to beat those guys out personally. I do know, maybe even Juwan Williams. I don't see Juwan Williams beating out those 2 guys for playing time personally. And him and Miles Bryant, I don't know if. I feel like if Belichick's going to be forced to play Miles Bryant or Marcus Jones in that slot, he's going to probably pick Marcus Jones. It's going to be a youth takeover. I'm happy for it. And, some of the other picks, Pierre Strong, pretty, explosive running back out of South Dakota, I think. Hey, Damian Harris probably isn't coming back. We know that as Patriots fans. You don't expect your running backs to come back. Sucks, but it is what it is. And, I think the rest of the draft was solid. We didn't take a linebacker. That's fine. I think that just proves Cam McGrone, Raekwon McMillan, and Mac Wilson are going to be the main guys with Jawan Bentley as the first down linebacker. I'm fine with that. I think that's an okay linebacking core. We can add more veterans as training camp progresses and there's injuries and stuff. Other than that, the rest of the picks, I don't think there was any big more standouts after. Bailey Zappe was the last one. Yeah, Bailey Zappe. People freaked out. I expected us to take a quarterback. I didn't expect it to be Zappe, though. I was expecting either Carson Strong or Sam Howell, maybe, if he had fallen past the 5th round and we didn't pick Bailey. Because I was like, well, when he fell to the 5th, I was like, well, it sounds like a great fit for New England, smart backup. But he didn't. That's fine. I think Sam Howell's going to be decent in Washington. Don't sleep on him. He's not the best. He's kind of like a Baker Mayfield, a little bit less. But Baker Mayfield had some success in the NFL. So don't. But Bailey Zappe is going to be a good dude. He's going to come in, be a great backup. We already traded Stidham in the time we drafted him. He's already in Las Vegas, and that's good for him. I think I'm fine with that 3 quarterback room. I think that's perfectly fine. It does probably mean J.J. Taylor's time in New England is probably very limited. I doubt he, beats out one of those rookies for a starting spot or a roster spot. Same with Ty Montgomery. Ty Montgomery is going to really have to excel somewhere, either in special teams or at the wide receiving core, or maybe in the backfield. He's going to have to excel somewhere to beat out James White for that role. I don't see. But that's pretty much it for the draft. New England's draft. It was really good. I'll make a full video sometime this week going over my thoughts about it and things like that. But that's it for New England. Some other draft moments that I thought the Ravens had a freaking fantastic draft. I think they had the best one. I think you would be hard pressed personally to find a better draft than the Ravens. Hamilton, I loved. Ojabo, I loved. Tyler Linderbaum, I'm huge on. Great. Chiefs. I don't know. I think the Tyreek Hill happened before the draft. I'm not huge on the Chiefs as much without Tyreek, but I think people are starting to almost underrate the Chiefs, which doesn't make sense to me. Yeah, they lost Tyreek Hill, but they have a pretty balanced receiving core now with Sky Moore, MVS, Juju. They still have Maycole. It's not like a bunch of wide receiver ones, but it's an accumulation of talent that if they hit the right stride, I think the Chiefs can be just as dangerous. When you have a top 3 quarterback, you're going to be fine. It's rare that a top 3 quarterback they just crumble. I know the AFC West especially is competitive, and the AFC in general is competitive. I get that, but when you have a guy like Mahomes, you're fine. Don't say that the Chiefs are going to finish 3rd or 4th in their division, because they aren't. Okay, I don't care what Denver has done. I don't really care what the Raiders have done, and honestly, even the Chargers 50-50, I don't care what they do. They have to beat Mahomes. And I think the only team in that division that is probably confident in beating Mahomes is the Chargers, and they have a stigma of choking to get over. So it's a wild card. The AFC West, I think, is getting a little. I think we need to pump the brakes on the AFC West. When I do my record predictions, probably in the next couple months, I'm not going to be as high on the AFC West, I think, as most people. I don't even think 3 of the teams make the playoffs, personally. I hate to say that. I would like for them to succeed, but I think people are really overrating that division. And I'll get into that further. The Broncos, Brennan won't like that segment. That's fine. And the Raiders, I don't know. There's just something about that Raiders team. Getting rid of that coach, Rich Bisaccia, I think was a big mess up. I like McDaniels. I love Ziegler. I like what they did in the draft. I just think that he was just a better coach for them, personally. Let's think of some other topics. I have no script for this, in case you guys haven't noticed. I'm just going off, just trying to get back in the groove of it after the last 2.5 weeks of my life. It's been going crazy. The Deebo Samuel thing is still going on. He didn't report to the camp today. That's not a surprise. I really don't know which direction this Deebo thing is going. He didn't get traded in the draft, which I was kind of expecting. And he's just been kind of chilling it. I don't know what's going to happen with Debo. Same thing with the A.J. Brown trade was kind of a surprise, but not really. I mean, I guess looking back on it, he was probably not going to get the contract he wanted from Tennessee. I don't like what Tennessee's done this offseason. I like the Malik Willis draft. That was them getting him in the third or fourth round was impressive, but that was it. I do not like what the Titans have done. I think they're going to be probably looking outside of the playoffs. That whole AFC South is jumbled, man. Even the Colts, I don't like really what the Colts have done. I like Matt Ryan. I think he's a decent quarterback. I don't think he makes them much better than Mo. I think him and Wentz are pretty interchangeable at this point in their careers. Wentz to Washington, I think I've talked about before. I'm cautiously optimistic, but I was cautiously optimistic about Wentz and Indy last season, and he didn't really deliver. I don't know what was going on there. Kind of sucks because I like Wentz. I want him to succeed, but it's not looking good for Wentz. He needs to prove he can play, and that's a hard thing to say about a guy who had an MVP season, or an MVP caliber season. Sorry. But he has to prove it, and if he doesn't prove it, I think at this point, I think it's the end of the road for him as a starter. The Steelers have an interesting situation as well I want to talk about with Mitchell Trubisky and Kenny Pickett. I think the Steelers need to figure out pretty quickly what they want to do this season. Do they want to retool? Because it wouldn't really be a rebuild, because, they haven't really had below a 500 record in a long time. They were good. Do they want to retool, or are you going all in on Mitch Trubisky / Kenny Pickett this year and just hoping that they can lead you? I like Trubisky. I don't like him as a starter. And Pickett, I wasn't very high on. You guys saw, I think I had him in the 60s in my big board. Just wasn't, feeling Kenny Pickett. I think at the end of the day, the Steelers are in a precarious situation because they've never finished below 500 under Tomlin, and that's one of the reasons why he's still there. But that AFC North is stacked. I think the AFC North, as a division, is probably right now better than the AFC West. Hot take? Probably. But I'm going to say it. I that's what I think personally. I think the Steelers just have a better defense than anyone in the AFC West, minus maybe the new Chargers defense. We haven't seen them play yet. Just my opinion. But, hopefully Kenny Pickett proves me wrong. I'd love that because, we need to see more talent in the NFL. As much as it doesn't help New England to see all this talent in the AFC, we need to have talent in the NFL. It's because we're coming in the next 4 or 5 years. We're going to be entering a pretty big transit. We've already kind of entered it with the quarterback takeover. Allen, Herbert, Mahomes, Lamar, guys like that. Burrow, if you want to throw him in that situation, which I don't think that's wrong. It's a quarterback takeover, and young, and Rodgers and Brady aren't going to play forever. Well, Brady, who knows, but it's an interesting transition period that the NFL is in. And I'm all for it. I think it's change is good. I'm trying to think what else we can talk about. I'm only at the 13. I'd like to get to 20. But in general, the draft was pretty... It was as wild, I think, as we were expecting. There was a lot of reaches. I think the COVID situation has really hurt the scouting process. I think a lot of guys or a lot of teams probably just went off pure tape for some of their picks. You can almost see that in a few selections. Where guys, or they were just going off physicals for a lot of the times, which is fine. I think that's not a bad way to draft. But it was definitely a very weird selection process for a lot of different teams. Especially in that that second and third round. I mean, there were guys I didn't even have in my top 100, and I know I'm just a no-name, due to my house, watching very limited access tape because I don't really have much access to a lot. But even me, I didn't really see a lot of those guys get picked that early. And the Nakobe Dean fall, I don't think anyone expected, and he fell out almost to the fourth round. And apparently his medical red flags aren't even an issue. Who knows? But I think at the end of the day, the draft was weird, as it is almost every year. And people are already starting to look forward to next year, which is fun. Some of the names I'm seeing next year being brought up. C.J. Stroud, that quarterback from Kentucky, Will, I don't even know his name. I haven't watched much of him. I gotta start watching some of these college tapes, especially for USM. I don't know. I'm excited for the season. I'm excited for the off season. There's a lot of horrible takes, as always. At this point of the year, there's people saying Lamar's not top 10. There's people saying New England's going to finish fourth in the division, which is laughable. We're getting ranked below the Dolphins and Jets at this point, and it's that weird point in the offseason where everyone thinks that's just going to happen. It's not. So it's going to be a fun offseason. Upload schedule. Let's talk about that, and then I think that'll probably be the last thing I talk about in the next few minutes. Obviously, sometime this week I want to get out my draft grades. I know they're behind. Don't care. Still going to release them just to have them on record. And then after that, I'm thinking of starting a little mini series about who I think the top 10 at each position are. I would like to make that series. Maybe do like 2 or 3 in a video, like, quarterbacks, defensive backs, and linebackers in one video or something like that. I think that would be a fun thing to do, and it would be something to log before the season. I would like to get that in. I would also like to maybe get some record predictions going. Both things I would like to do. I think that's pretty much it. So I think that's going to be the upload schedule. Hopefully a couple times a week during the summer. I'm only taking a few summer classes. I do have an internship starting in the fall, but other than that, I'm hoping to, at least once or twice a week. That's going to be the current goal. Hopefully I can stick to it. But thanks again, and if you guys saw my Twitter interactions earlier, I apologize. I mean, I was being respectful, but there was some Mac Jones discourse that I thought I had to step into because it was kind of dumb. Daniel Jones. By the way, I'm just going to say this so I have it on record. Daniel Jones is not better than Mac Jones. Anyway, just had to get that out there. Sorry, some people are just. Anyway. So that's pretty much it. That's all I got to say. Thank you guys again. Sorry about the delay in videos, but I'm back. I'll try to be more active on both on YouTube, TikTok. Again, I got to be more consistent on TikTok, and especially Twitter. I'll try to post a little bit more. My thoughts on certain things. If I see any interesting tweets, I'll maybe pull those up in videos, things like that. But thanks again, y'all, and I look forward to seeing you guys on the next episode.